believe she really could have consented to that as a minor? No. Do I believe that was right? No. Does that mean Jazz Jennings regrets it? No. You're not in her heart and her mind, and writing, titles like that does a disservice to a very real conversation about real detransitioners. However, I do think her family is demented. I think that anyone who puts their child and sets them out to be a reality star, a celebrity, a spokesperson for something like this, their incentive, something's not clean in the milk. Like someone's not.
So what's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. Now, this particular episode is going to focus more on Blair White because I just watched Blair's last episode that was done about going to therapy. So please stick with me because it is very important for you to watch like it is. And I know that sounds loaded, but it's not loaded because let's really think about this. For anybody who doesn't know who Blair White is what we would call a trans woman, and I do have a problem saying that word for my own because of like reality and what reality means to me, but whatever. So for all intents and purposes, Blair White is a trans woman. And basically on what people would say the right wing side of things, a political commentator who is very realistic about the whole transgender movement. And in this particular episode, Blair White was talking about Jazz Jennings' situation with the conservative commentators that were kind of like giving her a hard time, if you will, during the summer. It wasn't really, more like an assessment. However, I will say, Blair understands the whole point of clickbait. Now, my thing is this, I don't mind being clickbaited as long as somebody has some genuine and, real information behind the clickbait. So, but Blair knows what that is or whatever. Blair does know what that is. Now, Tim Pool has this really weird thing that he does with his clickbait, but whatever. The point is now when I can't speak for anybody else for what they do, but when I do episodes on Jazz, it is because Jazz and Jazz's family decided to take his life and literally put it on television since the day this child could talk and start telling us a whole bunch of things. And then there's episodes where Jazz is telling other people like, hey, go ahead and do this big altering thing and don't ask questions, just do whatever makes you happy. So here I come. I'm like, why don't we assess this just a little further and go into the details? I always try to have class when I make these videos because, I answer to God, not myself. Now, if you do like the videos that I've been making, go ahead and hit the like button and thank you. But going back to Blair is talking about the parents and everything. And in this therapy session, Blair ends up realizing how much her family had to do with the situation. And I got to tell you, it was jaw-dropping. I would have never expected to hear some of the things that I heard. So let's go ahead and get into it. When I'm playing this on a speeded up like replay, y'all know why, okay? But I'm not going to clip too much of this. I'm going to leave the description, the link in the description below. So you guys go watch the full episode. I think that you should watch the full episode, but I just want to talk about the main important deal here. So if you guys just stick with me through the journey, we'll get there, and then I'll give you my thoughts on everything that was said.
Yeah. So I had this narrative in my head that I'm good. I'm the only good one in my family.
Right.
And in some ways I am, but there's a lot of damage that I'm realizing is there. So now I'm fixing it.
Interesting. So are you angry at all about, I mean, I guess your mom, maybe your mom, but your dad, he was abusive and.
Him, I don't have any grace for. I don't really know.
Why?
Just because of the specific type of monster he was.
You
I don't really
forgive
know.
Him.
No. And I also don't relate to the people who are like, forgiving's about you. It's like.
Let me just at least bring you up to speed. Blair White just told his therapist that, that his father was abusive. And Blair says in the beginning of the clip that it was a specific type of abuse that can cause trauma. So it was like, but Blair says that she hasn't, been open about that. This is new. This is new. But lately, some repressive memories are coming back, and she's been going to therapy and kind of working through all of this and realizing a lot of different things.
Well, I guess you haven't done a lot of therapy, so you don't really know, but I don't know if you intuit, like, what was the meaning you made of that? Like the child, that your father's abuse towards you, because the father is a very powerful figure in our lives as an archetype. And if we're being by the father and he's not there for us, creating safety, and that's really the primary job of the father. Do you have any sense of like the meaning you made of that?
No, because, well, again, it's kind of twofold the answer.
Like he let you down.
Oh, for sure. Worse than that,
Worse
just
than
like
that.
Failure, flop, monster, evil. But, a lot of the actions on his part were actually buried deep down in my psyche. So they didn't start coming up until about 29, 30. So in one way I didn't make any sense of it. But then also what's really fascinating about that is like my body always knew that he was like a demon. Like, not in the literal sense, but, bad for me to be around dark, like I said, because I remember, the only real memories I have of him are always hating him, but not knowing why. It's had a huge impact now that I have more clarity on the entirety of my life. But it was only once those memories came up again that I could kind of see that, oh, that's why I do that. That's why my brain works like that. That's why I have this view of this thing that is whatever,
Yeah.
Maybe, for me to expand into everything that I needed to be, his job was done, even if his job was to cause the trauma that did it, right? Like that was his path in life, was to lay the framework for his child to become everything that I become and I'm going to become. When I figured out the trans thing, and by figured out, I mean like looked within, made the decision, was comfortable with it, went on, I was like, okay, well then there's nothing else wrong with me. That was the thing that was always wrong with me. Clearly, because that's such a big thing. No one even goes through that shit, especially back then. Now everyone wants to. But when I transitioned, no one even, I never knew anyone like that. Never really heard of it. So I was like, okay, then that's my big problem in life. I'll move on now. Right. It's solved. Yeah. Now I see that like, that was probably a trauma response. Me being trans is probably a trauma response. That's interesting. And it's not politically correct to say, don't care. That's not, within the realm of what people think is acceptable to say. And some of their reasoning for that, I understand. I don't think that that is the case for every person who is trans. I don't think that's the case for every LGBT person. And it may not be the full explanation for why I'm trans in myself, but to deny that it's part of the equation, I just think is ignorant in my own case. Right. When did you come to that realization that it was, at least some aspect of it was a trauma response? Like in the last year or so, like I started really thinking about it and I'm like, really interesting how I escaped my hometown, escaped my family, moved away, changed my name, changed my physical appearance in just about every way I possibly could. I mean, I look nothing like I look. It's actually scary how different I look, like shapeshifter type stuff. And I don't think that's normal, like, and even less normal than like a regular abnormal sense. Cause like abnormal is like not good or bad. It's just deviates from normal. But for me, I was like, no, there was like something unspoken about that I'm not admitting to myself. Like, was that me running away from my past? And I think in part for sure. Right. Well, also when our childhood is really, really scary, we don't want to be in our bodies. Like we don't want to be in our actual bodies because it's not safe to be in our bodies. And we have all kinds of ways that we leave. And so maybe there was something about you not wanting to be in your actual body, or you want to change your body in some way. Does that track for you? Yeah. I mean, I don't think that it's the full explanation. Sure. Maybe that was the first brick. Is building me now was that before I was even born, maybe in the womb, something prenatal. Do you have regrets? With transition? No. You're comfortable with where you're at right now? More than comfortable. And that's actually the reason why I think people don't want to admit to themselves sometimes that maybe transition is partly a trauma response, is because they don't want to put it out there that like somehow it makes it less valid or not really them or a costume of sort. Right. And for me, the way I've thought about it is like, look what my body did to allow me to survive. Like the trauma response is literally a survival mechanism. That's what they are. So my body did this crazy elaborate thing. And I'm still here, and I'm the only successful person in my family, and I'm the, only person who's even began to look at these toxic patterns they all have that I broke. Right. It's like to look at that and be like, that means I'm not actually Blair or something. I am Blair because I chose to be Blair. Yeah. And I still am Robert. I still am that person too. Right. I'm all of it.
Blair was very, very honest with us and vulnerable. And I have to say, thank you for that, because this kind of information will give more insight to why these things happen. Blair is right. A lot of people don't want to talk about the trauma response of being trans because it somehow makes them feel less than a person. I can imagine that goes through a person's mind. Maybe I can understand why, there's so much vitriol when somebody says that, hey, you're not doing the right thing here. That'll bring it, make sense to me. If somebody's looking like, well, this is how I dealt with XYZ problem, right? So now I have to listen to everything. Yeah. So Blair went through a bad situation that starts with an A, and we could tell what kind of A it was. I can't use those words, and because of obviously, y'all know why. But you can tell what kind, right? So, and this was from Dad. Now Blair says that that their body always knew that they didn't like their father. I didn't think anybody could have possibly had touched this person in order for this person to become this way, right? I made the exception because I said, I don't want to be that person that says that's how it happens to everybody. But to come back to the point that this is what this person is saying, that's exactly what happened, right? That's exactly what happened. Kids are precious, precious little souls, and they are to be protected at least, as a child, right? And they run to us for protection. They do. They run to their mothers and their fathers and their teachers and the nurse and whatever, for protection, because what they understand, their mind is so simple. It's like adult means safe, right? And then when it's your own parents, again, that's what they do. And in that time when Blair needed his parents to comfort, make him, safe and everything, one parent took advantage of him, and I think the other parent was like not really, I don't know if the word is aware, or it might have been having their own issues and not paying attention. And so here's what happens, right? And so there's a part where they say, her and the interviewer are like, your body reacted to that. And Blair's like, I escaped my hometown, changed my name, and I look completely different from when I was younger. It's almost scary how different I look. You hear that? That's a big admission, right? The body has ways of escaping where you can escape from the body. Your mind is so it's so fascinating and scary to what the mind really can do. He's right about that. He said we got a lot of ways of doing that. Yeah, people can pick up like a different habit, like vices, of course, drugs, everything. Or somebody can just go and change their body because of what, the constant, I don't know. There probably was a feeling of like constant, like pain, like actual somatic pain, which is, it's funny to say actual somatic, right? But like a pain with the thought where the body is like even repelling from itself, right? Where it might even feel like pins and needles, literally, because this body was damaged. Because, this is the part, right, where people they're not going to say it in this episode. Nobody else is going to say it. I'm not preaching religion, but your body is a holy temple. Your body is a holy temple given to you by God, right? So you are created by this creator. So your holy temple is supposed to be taken care of in a way that is precious like gold. Like somebody will take care of the finest jewelry. You're better than that. As a matter of fact, you made a 75% carbon. And if anything about carbon can turn into a diamond. You are a gem. So now somebody comes and then they violate this creation, right? Now, you become like, you're so violated where you can feel like in yourself that you're not only just you're not worth it, but you feel broken and dirty. And it's not even fair because somebody else came and did that to this person. And so now this person might have to reconstruct themselves a certain way. And that's why they can become a body dysmorphia based on this, right? Because there's another word I want y'all to know called dissociation. That is the real thing. When you have people running up and saying, oh, I have multiple personalities because, Sarah Jane. But no, there's people who do things for attention-seeking behavior. There is a disassociation that can happen. And a lot of times it comes from SA. Matter of fact, in the textbooks, when I was learning about it, SA is like the biggest source of disassociation, where the person literally is like having an outer body experience, so they can lose time. A lot of times they lose time. They don't know how they got to this certain place. And it just, sometimes it happens and they don't realize it's happening. I spoke to somebody. I did an interview one time where I was admitting somebody into the facility and they were explaining it, the disassociation, where he was at a prison first or whatever. And he remember being in jail and just like being, being in the, in the cell, whatever, chilling. And next thing he knew his next memory was being in the hallway cleaning, and he'd had a job as a, as an attendant, like doing maintenance in the jails, because they do give them jobs that they get paid like $1 a day. So, and then he was saying like, and I thought to myself, like, how did I get here? When did I even get this job? Like, then when I went on into the interview, you're supposed to ask any history of SA. And this person said, and this person was not connecting, just answering yes when I was 9. And I was like, oh, and he said, my uncle XYZ when I was 9. And this was when I was in school. It was crazy. I was working at a facility and I was in school going from LPN to RN, literally studying for the psych test that week on certain things like dissociation, borderline personality disorder, histrionic, and other things, social anxiety, things like that. And when he said that, it literally linked right to the textbook. Like, I could not believe it. And to go back to what Blair said, like, to go back to Blair does not want to give that much credit to Dad for Blair's transition. Then don't do it. Don't, but just go as far back as you need to go. Blair says, I don't regret being Blair and I'm still Robert. Kudos to you, because what's the point? At this point, this is what I'm saying. At this point, in reality, why would I force regret on a person who says that I'm whole who I am, and that's it? And that's what I'm saying. Maybe don't go any further. Now, what I will say, I'm going to keep it very real, is, and again, sorry, y'all know I believe in God, is that this, I will hope, could lead Blair to finding the light of Christ. I'm not saying that this person doesn't have Christ in their life. I don't know that. I don't know that. I know that there have been representatives of the quote representatives of the Lord who treated this person badly. And I understand, I'm learning how to deal with a lot of this stuff, but through real studies and listening to lectures with my pastors and stuff, and they're like, we must always stand with the truth, but do it in a compassionate manner where you're bringing people to God. So I've seen people come at Blair, and I'm like, I don't know if that's necessarily the way. Whatever's whatever. But because I don't hate anybody, and I do believe that the ultimate life is through Christ. I mean, that's me. Again, I'm not. You know what I'm saying? I'm not giving anybody any religious talk, but I'm not going to leave this whole video here and not throw that in there, because the Lord loves Blair. The Lord loves us all. And so, that infinite source is here for everybody. But I just thought this was very, very amazing and worth sharing. And I thank Blair for sharing that with us. And, there's more to learn in this life, in this journey. And so it's good to do it together in a calm and compassionate way. I don't like words like safe spaces, I don't use those kind of terms. But for me, again, through Christ, calm and compassion, we can build bridges and help to heal people, whatever that means for them. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you at the next video. Bye.